What's up guys, it's Miranda with Serious Dance and Fitness, and today I'm going to be taking you through a full body dumbbell workout. The only thing you're going to need for this workout is an exercise mat and a pair of dumbbells. Personally, I'm using an 8-pound set of dumbbells, but pick a weight that you feel like you can sustain for the entire 10 minutes of this workout. We are going to start out with some plank rows. So you're going to be up in a plank, and then you're just going to take one arm at a time and row it up towards your chest. Now we want to make sure those elbows are staying in those rows to really activate the back, and we want to minimize any shifting from side to side. If you find that your hips are shifting too much, feel free to drop down onto those knees for a modification. Next thing we're moving to is a Russian twist with a press out. So you're just gonna take both weights and hold them together close to your chest. And we're gonna twist from one side to the other, really activating those obliques. And then you're gonna press them straight out in front of you. You're gonna repeat that and make sure on that twist, you're going as far as you can over to the side and you're leaning back as much as you can control. On those press outs, make sure to get those arms completely straight and go as controlled as you need to. If you need to slow it down, feel free to do so. Next thing is going to be a burpee press up. So we're going to do our basic burpee. We're going to jump up into that squat position, and then from the squat position, you're going to bring those arms up and press them overhead. Make sure in that burpee you're locking in that plank, and as you come up you're locking in that squat before you take those dumbbells up and overhead. If you do need to modify this, just make it a basic burpee and drop those weights, or just take the tempo down a little bit, step the feet back one by one rather than going for the full jump. From here, we're gonna stay standing and move into a front lunge with a front raise. So you're just gonna step one foot forward at a 90-degree angle, making sure that toe is staying right in line with that knee. We don't want the knee to go in or the toe to go out. And then you're taking both of those dumbbells and raising them up in front of you with straight arms. You wanna think of having those palms down, and you can either raise them to a 90-degree angle just above the shoulder line, or if you feel like challenging yourself, raise those dumbbells all the way up to your ears, but making sure to keep those shoulders pressed down the entire time. Next thing, we're gonna do the same thing sideways. So we're taking a side lunge and then a lateral raise to the side. So same thing applies in that lunge. You wanna make sure that knee is tracking right over that toe. We're sitting back into those hips like we're sitting in a chair, just to make sure that knee doesn't fall too far in front of the toe. And on that lateral raise, we're keeping those arms straight and raising the arms up as high as we can. Make sure to control that raise and not let the shoulders rise up above you. And switch over to the other side and finish it out right here. Next thing, we have a curtsy lunge into a bicep curl. So on this curtsy lunge, you're taking your foot and stepping it behind you and across, almost like in an X position. And then before you go to the other side, just take it up for a regular bicep curl. On the bicep curl, remember to straighten your arms all the way so that we don't have a shortened bicep. We want to make sure we're creating nice long arms. So straightening those elbows on the way down will help that. In this curtsy lunge, step back, but make sure that those knees are both staying at about a 90-degree angle. We don't want to go too far forward or lean too far back. Next thing, we have some step backs with some tricep extensions. So you're gonna be in a narrow squat stance, about shoulder width apart. You're gonna stay in this squat and you're gonna kick your leg back straight, and at the same time, kick that same arm back straight. You're activating your tricep in this, so we're making sure to keep the elbow close to the side. And we're getting a little bit of glute and hamstring with that leg, as long as we're making sure that leg goes straight back. We're squeezing that glute at the end of that. Make sure to keep that back flat as well, and keep the opposite elbow in, tucked close to your side so it stays active while the other arm is working. Next thing, we have a squat good morning. So we're gonna take those weights and rack them on top of your shoulders just to add a little bit of a resistance. And you're gonna take it down into a basic squat. You're gonna extend the legs, leave the back where it's at, and then bring the back up. So again, I'm going into that squat, I'm straightening my legs and keeping that back flat, almost getting into the top of that deadlift position. And then from there, you're bringing your back up. This is a great way to combine the hamstrings and the quads in one exercise. It's a little bit challenging, so feel free to take it a bit slower just to make sure you have the movement mechanics correct, because we do want to avoid injury. Next thing, we have a single leg deadlift to a fly. So one leg at a time, you're going to step out into that deadlift. So we want to make sure that leg is staying straight. We're leaning forward, keeping that back flat. And then at the bottom of that deadlift, you're going to fly your arms out to the side. Now you can have a slight bend in those elbows to do that fly, because it's more about the activation in the back, and only go as high as you can control. If you are losing that balance, feel free to drop that foot down and then do the fly. In that single leg deadlift, make sure to keep your back flat and keep that core engaged so that that hamstring gets working. From here, we have an overhead press combo. So we're gonna have those dumbbells up above our shoulders at about a 90-degree bend in those elbows. We're gonna press up, rotate the weights in, and then drop it back for a standing skull crusher. Now we wanna keep those elbows as close to your head as possible for that tricep exercise, but we wanna make sure that we are dropping the weights behind us so we don't hit yourself in the head. On that press, make sure that those arms and those elbows don't drop below 90 degrees. We're just working the shoulders on that press and then into the triceps on that skull crusher. Next thing we are moving into is a calf raise to a hammer curl. So all we're gonna do is lift our heels off of the ground, and then once we drop those heels back down, going into that hammer curl. Now our hammer curl, our palms are facing in, and we're still curling up like you would a bicep curl, but again, the palms are just facing in. So you can do this two different ways. You can keep the legs straight in between, or you can bend them down into a squat and then just rise up onto those toes and maintain that squat position for a little bit of an extra quad burn. You pick the level that's right for you, just make sure you don't stop. Next thing, we have our kickbacks with a back row. So in this, we're gonna be in that squat position, and you're just gonna kick that leg back, squeeze that glute, make sure that foot is flexed, and then pull it into a back row. So we're staying leaned over the whole time with that flat back and that core engaged, but just again, making sure on that kickback to flex that heel, activate the glute, and then in that back row, pull those elbows up, keeping them as close to your sides as possible to engage that back. Next thing is we have some squat snatches. So we're just gonna use one dumbbell for these, and you're gonna go down into a nice deep squat and then pull that arm all the way up overhead. This is seen a lot in CrossFit workouts. You wanna go for speed on this just to get that heart rate up a little bit. So make sure you're swinging that weight all the way up, but still keep it controlled. Do about 5 per side and then switch just to make sure we're staying even. And don't sacrifice the depth of that squat for this speed. Make sure you're still getting into that deepest squat that you can. Moving down onto our mat now for a sissy squat to a press. So we're gonna be on our knees, and all you're gonna do is rack up these weights, and then we're gonna lean backwards as far as you can control and just press those weights up above your head on the way back up. Now we're keeping those wrists and those palms facing towards us. So you're just pressing straight up and down. Don't worry about a rotation like you would in an overhead press. And in this sissy squat, just lean back with control until you feel that pinch and that pull in the front of your thighs. Going now onto our back for a glute bridge with a chest fly. So you're gonna have your heels close to your glutes. You're gonna lift those glutes off of the mat, keeping that core engaged, and then you're gonna fly those arms out to the side in that chest fly. Now in the fly, you can have your elbows bent slightly. Just open up the arms as wide as you can. Try not to hit the ground below you so that your chest and your arms don't deactivate. And in that glute bridge, just making sure you're squeezing the glutes at the top, engaging that core, and making sure that those knees are not hitting together. If anything, you're wanting to think about pressing out from the sides of your legs. And the last exercise we have is a plank rotation. So similar to the plank rows that we started with, you're going to be up in that plank. You're gonna row that arm up, but then you're gonna twist and rotate your core all the way up and extend that dumbbell to the sky. Now in these twists, you really wanna feel it in those obliques, making sure they stay engaged the entire time. Again, if you're having trouble with maintaining this balance, go ahead and drop down to those knees and still make that twist happen with the core. And you are done. Let's go ahead and push it back into that child's pose. Calm that heart rate back down. Make sure you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Push into that downward dog. Pedal out the feet to stretch out those calves. And then walk the feet up to the hands. Hold it in that forward fold to stretch those hamstrings a little bit. And come on up and do whatever other stretches you need to do after that workout. Amazing work today. And if you enjoyed this, make sure to check out some of the other workouts on my channel.